Exercise is supposed to reduce stress. For most people, it does. For a specific physiological state, it does the opposite. And the people in that state are usually the ones being told most insistently that they need to push harder. This is one of the few places in clinical practice where the standard advice, delivered to the wrong person, reliably makes things worse. You know you should exercise. You've read the research. You believe it. But every time you build a consistent routine, something happens. 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, you get sick. Or you hit a wall you can't push through. Or the workouts that felt manageable start feeling impossible for no reason you can identify. So you stop. You feel guilty about stopping. And a few months later, you try again with the same result. Or this version, which is harder to see. The workout itself feels fine. Good even. You finish and you feel sharper, clearer, more capable than you did before you started. And then 24 hours later, you're wiped out. Or 48 hours later, you get a headache, the fog, the disproportionate fatigue that doesn't match what you actually did. You've been told this means you're deconditioned, that the answer is more consistency, more volume, more discipline. Here's where the standard framework goes wrong. The question everyone asks is, can you do the workout? And the answer is almost always yes. A depleted system can still generate a workout. It has an emergency mechanism specifically designed for that. That's the whole point of the stress response. The question that actually matters is, what do the next 48 hours look like? Performance during exercise tells you very little. Recovery after it tells you everything. Exercise works through a principle called hormesis. A controlled dose of stress produces an adaptive response that leaves the system stronger than it was before. But hormesis has a prerequisite that almost nobody states out loud. It requires baseline regulatory capacity sufficient to absorb the stressor and recover from it. The adaptation doesn't happen during the stress, it happens during the recovery, which means the entire benefit of exercise depends on a recovery system that is functioning. So consider what happens when that capacity is already consumed. You apply a stressor to a system that has no reserve to fund the adaptation. The stress lands. The recovery doesn't follow because the machinery required for recovery is the same machinery that's already depleted. What you've done is not train, you've spent. In a regulated system, exercise builds reserve. In a depleted one, it withdraws from an account that's already overdrawn. Here's the part that keeps people trapped in the cycle. Exercise in a depleted system still produces the acute stress response. Adrenaline rises, blood glucose mobilizes, focus sharpens, mood lifts. That feels like energy. It feels like the workout working. It isn't. It's borrowed arousal. The same emergency chemistry we've talked about in every video in this series, activated on demand. The post-workout clarity is real. It's just not evidence of adaptation. Feeling better during and immediately after exercise tells you the emergency system still responds. It does not tell you the exercise was appropriate. Which brings us back to the 48 hours. In a system with adequate reserve, the day after moderate exercise feels normal or slightly better. Some soreness perhaps, but the underlying energy is intact or improved. In a depleted system, the day after produces something disproportionate. Flattened energy, cognitive fog, a susceptibility to illness, a mood drop that has no situational explanation, sleep that's worse rather than better. The workout was moderate. The response is not proportional to the input. That disproportion is the diagnostic signal. It's telling you the recovery machinery couldn't cover the cost. When people say they're running on adrenaline, what we measure in the clinic is cortisol rhythm disruption. The adrenaline is what you feel. The cortisol curve is what it looks like under the hood. Exercise recruits both. In a regulated system, the recruitment is temporary and productive. In a depleted one, it draws on reserves that were already committed elsewhere. I want to be precise here, because this is easy to misread. This is not an argument against exercise. Exercise is one of the most powerful interventions available in human physiology, and for the majority of people, it should be a foundation. What this is, a statement that the same intervention produces opposite outcomes depending on the state of the system receiving it. Movement remains essential at every stage. What changes is the intensity, the duration, the type, and the recovery window required to make it constructive rather than costly. The direction of the intervention inverts. It doesn't disappear. If you've tried repeatedly to build an exercise habit and repeatedly been knocked down by it, you were not failing at discipline. You were applying the right intervention to a system that couldn't yet fund it. The guilt you've carried about that is misplaced. Your body wasn't refusing to adapt. It was signaling, clearly and repeatedly, that the adaptation account was empty. The path back doesn't start with pushing harder. It starts with understanding where you are. 2 decades of clinical practice, 5 distinct stages, each with a specific clinical picture, measurable markers, and a specific direction of treatment. What restores you below a certain threshold actively depletes you above it. The map is in the course. The link is in the description. In the description below is a free 5-day course. Day 1 alone will change how you read every morning you've ever had. Over 5 days, I'll walk you through the full mechanism, what's happening in your body, how it progresses, why conventional approaches miss it, and what genuine recovery actually requires. The link is in the description. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Dr. Jason Trombley, DAOM, AP. This is the Adrenaline Project.